I believe that women's health is something that concerns everyone, the family, the employers, the society in general.
Three things that you believe that women should go ahead and concentrate on in terms of their health.
A true leader understands that without a team, there is no leader. There are just individuals.
Women's health, it is still at today's day and age considered taboo or a stigma in many places of the world, though the world is in the developmental phase.
I'm very happy that you're doing this. I think it's empowering that it's being done by a woman. I think that the world needs more voices, more women's voices.
What is the most challenging fact that women are facing today in women's health? Something that needs to be educated from the grassroots level.
Hi everyone, I'm Mohsinaa Ahmad. Welcome to Boss Talks, where transformative conversations meet actionable insights. In each episode, we have conversations on the interaction of modern leadership, on exploring how spirituality shapes decision-making, how sustainability drives innovation, how technology transforms business, and how emotional intelligence powers lasting success. Welcome to today's Boss Talks episode. I'm thrilled to introduce our distinguished guest, Oana Gharbi, a transformative leader in the FemTech industry who joins us today from Dubai. Oana stands at the forefront of women's health innovation as a business development powerhouse, fertility specialist, certified health coach. With her multifaceted expertise spanning business strategy, reproductive health, and women's advocacy, she has become an indispensable force in revolutionizing healthcare for women globally. Currently serving in leadership roles at both Proov and Carrot Fertility, Oana excels at building strategic partnerships that expands access to essential women's health technologies. Her impressive career includes consulting for numerous FemTech startups, where she consistently drives international growth and market penetration. What truly sets Oana apart is her deep knowledge of fertility healthcare systems across multiple continents and her passion for empowering women through healthcare education. With prestigious certifications from Harvard Medical School and specialized training in reproductive health, she brings both scientific rigor and entrepreneurial vision to her work. Today, we will explore Oana's insights on the evolving FemTech landscape, the future of women's healthcare, and how digital innovation is transforming fertility care worldwide. Please join me in welcoming Oana Gharbi. Hi Oana, welcome to Boss Talks. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Mohsinaa. Thank you for having me, and thank you for this humbling presentation. Happy to be here today with you.
So Oana, what was the moment that sparked your passion for women's healthcare?
Sometimes you need to miss something in order to value it. I became very passionate and vocal about women's health when I realized how undervalued women's health has always been, which is something we are not taught about. And it's even something that we do not come to realize ourselves unless we are confronted with the harsh reality of it. Of course, this is a societal and cultural problem. For centuries, women have been reduced to their reproductive function. They have been traditionally excluded from medical research. They've been marginalized and underrepresented in the medical field. They used to be, and still are to this day, tons of taboos and medical stigma surrounding menopause, menstruation, sexual health. Women still feel unheard and dismissed, told to man it up, to suffer in silence because this too shall pass. They sometimes wait months, even years to get a diagnostic, even in the Western society. They die, and that's not okay. And this needs to change, but it will not change overnight. So I believe that the world needs more voices advocating for women's health. I'm proud to be one of them, but I have encouraged many women over the years to join me.
As rightly put, these kind of comments comes in. Childbearing is very natural. Okay, so what is so difficult about it? Okay, so these kind of comments come so naturally, and it's such a stigma actually to society, and they're still prevailing in this day and age that we live in. So rightly put, Oana.
I would just advise women, because I have I receive so many requests, especially on LinkedIn, from women who are specialized in other fields and who want to start working in FemTech and in women's health. And they're asking me, how should I go about it? For me personally, I didn't look for a path. For me, it was something in my personal life. It was my own secondary infertility struggle that made me switch careers. It was an organic passage, let's say, like I didn't plan it. It just happened. And I grew with this path and in this field, and this field grew on me. But for people who want to do it conscientiously, I would just tell them, go for it. If it even came to your mind, that means that you have an idea about it. It means that you have a passion. I would definitely say, go for it. It's a very rewarding path. It's not easy. Like I said, I have two missions here. We're trying to advance women's health on one hand while battling taboos and stigma on the other hand. So no, it's not easy, but women's jobs are not easy either, right? So I would say it's really rewarding to advocate for yourself and to advocate for others. And we need more voices. So don't be shy about it. Just go for it.
What's one belief about FemTech or fertility in today's day and age that you are challenging?
That fertility and FemTech and women's health in general are a woman's concern only. That is untrue. We represent 51% of the global population. We are women, surely, but we are also daughters. We are wives, we are mothers, and our health impacts our well-being, and our well-being impacts our family and friends and the way we interact with them, the way we function in the family and at work. And I believe you cannot pour from an empty vessel. And that's what women have been doing traditionally, pouring from empty vessels. We're always putting someone else first. Right. So basically, if I am expected to be a good mother, a good wife, an employee who performs and delivers, I need to be okay. And unless my health is under control, I cannot be okay. So I do not believe that women's health is niche, and this type of affirmation infuriates me because I hear it all the time. I believe that women's health is something that concerns everyone, the family, the employers, the society in general, and that's the belief that I'm challenging.
3 things that you believe that women should go ahead and concentrate on in terms of their health. 3 ways that they can prioritize their health over their responsibilities.
Love themselves, listen to their bodies, and be vocal about their bodies. Advocate for themselves. There are 4 of them.
That's amazing. Oana, how do you stay emotionally grounded while advocating to others? Like you said, women should not operate from empty vessels. Okay, so you have been, you are in a position where you are listening to people coming in with loads of problems. So how do you stay grounded?
First of all, I would like to tell you that, when you work in women's health, and especially in FemTech, which is pretty new, right? You see a lot of inequity. It's frustrating and it's infuriating. So first of all, you have the underfunding. FemTech startups receive significantly less funding than male-focused health tech companies. Startups tackling menopause are considered niche. I'm like, how? How is it niche? Basically, every woman who gets to live past 50 will reach menopause. If you look at the global life expectancy for women, global, which is 76 years old, over half of the population of the globe is going to be menopaused for 1/3 of their lives. As you said, I am in touch with startups who get confronted with these issues. I am in touch with fertility patients who get confronted with their own issues, and then they have to add the financial strain to it, and then they have to add stigma about it, and the fact that they cannot communicate with their employers or with their families about it. And there is a lot to take on. It's hard to stay emotionally grounded when you get to work with this kind of data on a daily basis. But, I'm telling myself that these things take patience and determination. Rome wasn't built in a day. So definitely this is an uphill battle. And people working in FemTech in general, on one hand, they trying to advance women's health solutions, and on the other hand, they're fighting the taboos and stigma. So it's a double task if you want. But we have to stay emotionally grounded, and it's very rewarding. It's definitely better today for my generation than it was for my mothers and my grandmothers. Everything I'm doing it with the hope that it will be even better for my daughter's generation and for her daughters if she ends up having daughters.
Right. So tell me this thing. how do you see the future of women's health going forward in the next 10 years, 15 years, like you said, for your daughter's generation? How do you see it going forward?
If you had asked me this question 10 years ago when I was not in FemTech and I didn't know much about, women's health, I would never have believed that in 2025, we would get to see these innovations that we're seeing today, and they're more numerous and more mind-blowing every month, I would say. Today, we can test our hormones at home. We can have the results immediately. We can send the data to our doctors. We can adjust our medications in a second. Like literally, telehealth, even before COVID a few years back, was not a thing, right? We have implants under our skin who can measure our hormones. It's like I said, it's all sorts of devices, all sort of help. Who knows what women's health will look like in 5 years? It's not about the potential, because the potential is there. There are a lot of innovators, especially women in this space, but not just women. The thing is, how are we going to make these innovations possible? Because like I said, FemTech is so underfunded. And while there is a raise in awareness, just the awareness itself is not enough. So my concern is not how that would look like, but how can we help propel it forward in a very lucrative way for everyone?
That's absolutely true, because the accessibility is not there. Though the innovations are there, accessibility is missing. So Oana, tell me, what does authentic leadership and basically in the women's space look like to you?
I want to say that authentic leadership, the one that really makes a difference, is the one that allows people to grow. I'm 51. I had several jobs. I had several bosses throughout my career. And I can tell you that I never thrived in a position that didn't allow me to create, to develop myself, to innovate, to basically to be myself. So positions where I was allowed space to move upwards. So for me, a true leader should have an iron hand in a velvet glove. I mean, I believe in firmness. I do not believe in micromanagement. So a true leader understands that without a team, there is no leader. There are just individuals.
What is the most challenging fact that women are facing today in women's health that you are seeing as, something that needs to be educated from the grassroots level and globally, not just in one particular region that we are talking about, but globally?
I would say it's education or the lack of education. And yes, it's globally, because we get confronted with lack of education in countries who are underdeveloped, as well as in countries who are well-powered. Traditionally, we only have contraceptive education. Women are being taught that how they need to prevent from getting pregnant if they do not want a pregnancy.
Right.
But by telling someone this and only this, you somehow put it in their minds that pregnancy is something that can be achieved very easily. And, all you have to do is to just make sure you protect yourself. Reproductive education would be useful, and women's health education in general. Our children, they are not taught in mid-school or in high school that they might have reproductive challenges later on, that female fertility declines after 35, that they need to prepare for that, sometimes even younger than 35. We are being told that menstrual pain is normal. We are not being told that it's a big symptom of endometriosis. Which is why endometriosis take years on average to be diagnosed, even in Europe and in the United States. And endometriosis ultimately impacts fertility. So all these things that women do not have access to, this type of information, like organized information, because now you're going to tell me everyone has access to information. Yes, but even if you want to look on Google or if you want to look on ChatGPT, you need to know what to look for. You need to know what kind of information to look for. So education in an organized setting would be fantastic, because it would just raise women's awareness on their bodies, would just help them be in tune with themselves so that they can speak up and, get solutions, like accurate solutions for their health.
Very true. So, Oana, what's the biggest misconception people have about working in the FemTech space?
I think that FemTech per se as a concept is pretty much misunderstood. When people ask me what I do for a living, 9 times out of 10, I have to explain what FemTech is in the first place. And even then, when I tell them that it's about women's health and everything, they're like, oh, okay, so it's about fertility. Sure, it is about fertility too, but it's not just about fertility. Like fertility is definitely a component, has its place in FemTech, right? But a woman is much more than her uterus and her ovaries, right? So when we talk about FemTech, we are looking at a much broader and definitely multidisciplinary field. And we're looking at fertility for sure, but we're also looking at female-related conditions, like I mentioned, endometriosis, PCOS, pregnancy, postpartum, mental health, cardiovascular and autoimmune diseases that affect women differently than men. So I'd say that maybe the biggest misconception is that in reality, FemTech is much more complex than it appears to be, or that people think it is.
For that, woman's body is very complex. And, according to different stages.
Different from a man's.
Absolutely. So tell me one thing, before I end this, I want to ask you 3 things or 3 reasons why women's fertility is declining over the age. What are the 3 main reasons for that?
I mean, first of all, is the biological one. We are built like this. We are born with our ovarian reserve. Which decreases as we get older until it depletes completely when we reach menopause. That's a fact. Basically, our eggs have our age. This is true now, today, in 2025. This was true in the Middle Ages. This was true in
all ages.
1,000 even ago. But on top of that, we've seen a decrease in fertility, and not only in women, also in men, in the past decades. And it is obviously related to the air that we're breathing, the pollution. It's related to what we're eating. 100 years ago, we didn't have the same additives in our food. It's related to our lifestyle, as you say. I would say stress, but when you look back on humanity and you look at all the wars that we have been through, like worldwide, I wouldn't say that people lived a less stressful life back then. So I'm not even sure if I would like to drop stress into the equation. Lastly, I would say that also the fact that we are postponing parenthood because we're sometimes forced to, because look at economic aspect, the economic aspect. People can't afford these days, especially in the Western world, they cannot afford to get married in their 20s and have children in their 20s because they need to build a career, because they need to pay a rent, because they can't afford to buy a house, because salaries are low, and so on and so forth. And so they're postponing parenthood. And obviously, like I said, fertility declines, especially for women after 35. I mean, obviously, if you're pushing your first pregnancy to your early 40s or late 30s, you're going to be less fertile than you would have been in your 20s. So there are a lot of aspects, a lot of factors.
Oana, thank you so much for joining in and bringing so much insights to women's health when it is still at today's day and age considered taboo or a stigma in many places of the world, though the world is in the developmental phase. Thank you for bringing in your insights. Thank you for telling us what needs to be done and what's not need to be done, and emphasizing on the fact of education, accepting that education is lacking in this field, no matter which part of the world we are in. And it is still a taboo to discuss women's health. It is still taken as a non-issue for women's health. So the world is changing, and thank you for being a part of this changing world.
I'm very happy that you're doing this. I think it's very empowering. I think it's empowering that it's being done by a woman. And I have been following you. I think that the world needs more voices, more women's voices. Congratulations. I love it. And I'm definitely flattered that I am part of Boss Talks today.
Thank you so much, Oana.
Thank you so much.